This is Alex at Kids in Need of Defense, and I am here doing our Pro Bono of the Month feature with David Cabello from Rome in Houston. And we're so excited to have you here, David. David currently has 2 pro bono cases with our Kind office in Houston, but has worked on this issue, countless cases like this in different capacities over the past 10 years. Specifically, David has just come back from the Rio Grande Valley working at Port Isabel with separated families and children, which is what we're here to talk about today. And we're just really excited to have you. So thank you, David.
Thank you, Alex. It's a pleasure.
So I'll just get started and ask, how did you get involved doing this type of pro bono work with Kind?
My daughter introduced me to University of Chicago and the Children's Project. And through that, I got to know Catholic Charities and Kind. And so I've been working with Kind for roughly 8 to 10 years now.
Awesome. And what, through that, what motivated you to help children and families in need in this capacity?
Well, I had a court case at the immigration court, and then I came to realize that young children, 4- or 5-year-old children, were appearing in immigration court without representation. And I started thinking about my own children and how difficult it was for them when they were 4 and 5 years old. And I was thinking, gee whiz, I wouldn't want to be a child, 4 and 5 years old, appearing before a judge who was speaking in a foreign language, explaining to me what my legal rights were. And so I thought that these children, more than anything, needed help from attorneys.
And how did you feel when you heard about what was happening on the border with these family separation cases?
Well, first of all, I didn't believe it was true, like so many people who refused to believe it. But I kept watching the news media and trying to understand what was going on. And then I thought that this was unconscionable and impossible for us as a civilized nation to be doing this, to separating our children from their families. And I just felt, one, I needed to go down there and see for myself. And secondly, I needed to do what I could to help these families.
And can you tell us a bit more about that, what that first day was like for you, going to Port Isabel and working with these families?
Sure. The first part of the day was spent trying to understand how best to get into the facility and what we needed to do to clear the various security measures. And so we were anxious to get down and start working with the families and start visiting with the parents of the who had children that had been taken away from them. And as we met with the first, we realized that all the stories we had heard were true. Many of the parents had been separated from their children for over 2 months. And we realized just how much of a problem it was. And we heard for the first time from the parents how devastated they were not being able to see their children, not being able to talk to their children, and certainly not being able to be with their children, particularly those that were of a very young age.
Mm-hmm. And can you share, any more details of a case that you worked on at the border of a separated parent?
Sure. There was a father who had a 5-year-old son who he had not seen for 2 months, and he was devastated by the fact that he hadn't seen his son. He was devastated by the fact that he had come to the border, and he never thought it would be possible that the U.S. government would take his young child away from him. And he was ready to go back. He said, I'm not interested in asylum. I'm not interested in coming to this country. I just want my child, and I want to be able to return to my country. And I think that's the message that certainly the government was trying to send to him. And it's unfortunate because he was ready to give up any rights that he had to seek asylum, merely because he wanted to be reunited with his son.
Right. And on that, what do you think would have happened to these families, and if attorneys like you didn't go down there and just talk with what happened with these parents?
Well, I think many of the parents needed to be reassured that they were going to see their children again. They needed to be told about the court proceedings and the court orders that required that the children be reunited with their parents. And so in explaining to them exactly what the courts were doing and what other lawyers were doing to help encourage the reunification, and the fact that the that the administration had been brought to heel by the courts. They then started to feel more comfortable in, one, starting to exercise their rights and learning more about asylum, and also pursuing asylum claims because they felt confident, or at least more comfortable, that they would be reunited with their children.